Coming up, saving lives. Meet a Texas mom keeping her son's memory alive despite his tragic death. And COVID cases are rising. What a long-term facility is now doing in the Brazos Valley to keep people safe. August is National Minority Donor Awareness Month. Good morning, I'm Joey Horta. Right now, one Texas mom is on a mission to save lives. 19-year-old Daniel Polhemus' life came to a tragic end in 2005 after a devastating car accident. According to DonateLife.org, someone ends up on the transplant waiting list every 10 minutes. So Daniel's mom is working to get more people to register to give others a fighting chance.
It really is a life-saving procedure for other people, but it is a tremendous comfort for donor families.
You can register to be a donor on the Texas Organ Sharing Alliance website, tosa1.org. Governor Abbott's executive order is lifting the mask mandate statewide, but nothing actually changed for nursing homes like Legacy Nursing in Bryan. All staff, guests, and residents are still wearing masks to protect the most vulnerable population.
Ongoing efforts, ongoing testing of staff that takes place just as our own, mitigation efforts continue. We will ramp that up if it goes above 10%.
The nursing home closely monitoring the local positivity rate now. The Hindu Society of the Brazos Valley is hard at work collecting school supplies to fill 101 backpacks just in time for the fall semester. The supplies will be donated to the Boys and Girls Club of the Brazos Valley and the local junior league. It's time to change gears and get a check on our weather now with Josh.
Yeah, and we're seeing some clouds out there now as you look at the Extraco, Eagle Eye, and Bryan College Station. Some of those clouds in the distance, even a few showers trying to show up, but it's a pretty nice day out there. Temperatures sitting in the lower 80s as we're heading towards that lunchtime hour. Winds are out of the east-northeast at 5 miles per hour, so that's actually bringing our dew point down. Currently seeing that dew point at about 74. That north wind is also bringing in some wildfire smoke from the Pacific Northwest. So by the time we head into this afternoon, we could be dealing with a moderate concentration here in Bryan College Station, and so we'll have to be watching for that. If you have sensitive respiratory issues, you might want to limit your time outside. We'll be able to clear that out, though, going into Thursday thanks to some southerly winds. Otherwise, temperatures in the upper 70s, lower 80s right now. They do feel like they're near 90, though, when you factor in that humidity. And we are watching one little shower that's starting to fall apart, but did bring some heavy rain to those of you southwest of Caldwell over towards the Deanville area and back towards Dimebox there in Lee County. That's moving away, though, and we should have a pretty quiet day. Now, I am going to leave the chance of a spot shower or thunderstorm in place, despite the fact our cold front's all the way down on the coast. We'll still have the potential, at least, for one or two to pop off. So we'll watch that as we go through the afternoon. Future track showing you it's a very isolated chance, though. We'll have it in place coming up on Thursday as well. I think we'll have a little bit better chance of rain on Thursday, just over 20%. And then we'll continue that into Friday, too, with some small rain chances hanging around, at least until high pressure can build back in this weekend. Once that happens, that'll clear out the skies. We'll bring back the heat. We'll say goodbye to the rain chances, at least until next week when the sea breeze may become a little bit active again for the first part of the week, and that'll bring us some small rain chances as well. Upper 80s, lower 90s today. I think we'll be pretty close to around 93 degrees by afternoon, lower 70s overnight. And as you look at that 10-day forecast, we'll call for a similar day for your Thursday, 95 for Friday, 96 Saturday, and we're approaching 97 on Sunday. Heading into next week, 97 to 98, looking pretty common, but that's typical August heat for this time of year.
This is a huge victory for the vulnerable, and it is a huge victory for the power of direct action and not taking no for an answer.
Help is on the way for people facing eviction. The CDC issued a new moratorium that remains in effect until October 3rd. It will prevent evictions in areas facing high levels of coronavirus transmission, which covers about 90% of the population. The previous eviction ban expired over the weekend. President Joe Biden said even if the new ban gets challenged in court, it will probably give cities and states enough time to distribute federal rental aid. The number of kids and teens diagnosed with coronavirus nearly doubled in a week. The American Academy of Pediatrics says nearly 72,000 kids and teens tested positive for COVID-19 during the last week of July. That's up from 39,000 the previous week. The FDA says it's working to get approval for vaccines for kids under 12. President Joe Biden joined a growing list of people calling for New York Governor Andrew Cuomo to resign. The pressure for Cuomo to step down followed the release of an investigation by New York's Attorney General that found he sexually harassed nearly a dozen women. That investigation also found Cuomo tried to retaliate against one of his accusers. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio also called for Cuomo's resignation.
I think, first of all, he should resign. Now, let's start at the beginning. He has the ability to leave the stage. He should do that immediately for the good of the people of New York City.
Members of the New York State Assembly said they will move quickly to complete an impeachment inquiry. Cuomo released a statement saying he, quote, never touched anyone inappropriately.
From Walmart to Disney, businesses are bringing back mask mandates for employees and visitors following the CDC's latest guidance on masks.
I'd like to see what happens over the next couple of weeks, and hopefully we end up in a much better place than we are today because we've come so far, and to see us go backwards would just be a crime.
MGM Resorts following Nevada's mask requirements indoors as California and Illinois also follow the CDC's push for masks once again.
Because we have such a high number of people who are unvaccinated, because the Delta variant is so transmissible, and because we are seeing that when it does get transmitted in those rare cases to someone who's vaccinated, they have the chance of spreading it. That's what's changed these recommendations.
States are largely holding firm to existing policies as COVID spread is either substantial or high across more than 70% of U.S. counties. That's many parts of the Southeast and all of South Carolina, Missouri, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Florida, where Governor Ron DeSantis is doubling down against any mandates. He issued a new order directing state agencies to make sure protocols in schools don't violate a parent's rights to make masking decisions for their kids.
There's a movement to try to impose more restrictions on the American people. And I just want to say in Florida, there will be no lockdowns.
Arkansas's governor pointed to legislators to lift a ban to give local school districts authority for masks. But Friday in Louisiana, the governor called the Delta variant a game changer.
I can tell you that I have received over the last 24 hours or so numerous requests from hospitals and healthcare organizations and other entities to reinstate a statewide mask mandate. This is something that I am seriously considering.
Simone Biles and other top stars like Naomi Osaka say they're willing to skip competitions to prioritize their mental health, and they're challenging our perceptions of athletes.
So it's not just saying, something's not right, I'm having some difficulty, but they're doing things to actually protect their mental health and wellness.
Caroline Brackett works with college athletes at Mercer University. She says this wave of awareness is giving the public more insight into the nuances of mental health.
It's important to build a plan around each individual and not expect that, if I do this one thing for the team, everything is going to be great, because everybody is not struggling with the same thing, or everyone doesn't learn the same way.
Very few, though, in the audience know the internal workings, perhaps the personal stories, the lived experiences, the traumas that people are carrying around.
William Parham is part of the U.S. Olympic Paralympic Committee Mental Health Task Force. It helped the Olympics implement resources like dedicated mental health professionals at the Games and a 24/7 hotline for athletes. But he says the Olympics and other sports leagues should provide continuous support.
Once athletes have passed on and are no longer competing as athletes, Olympians, we have to have support services in place to help them launch, stay focused, help them transition into something else.
Brackett says years of athletes like Michael Phelps and Kevin Love speaking up shows how far we've come and how organizations can build a better support system for athletes who seek mental health treatment.
That's seen more as courage and strength, to be able to just challenge that image that you have to be this tough person who nothing impacts you, nothing takes you off your game, you're always on point. What I can envision is that becomes part of the team culture. You talk about mental health the same way that you do medical health. It really needs to be infused into the conversations that you're having with individuals.
I'm Austin Kim.
An activist with vitiligo is bringing awareness to the skin condition and empowering other vitiligans through art.
So here's some negatives too that I can kind of share.
Jasmine Abena-Colgan says her pain is healed through the lens of her camera.
My art is my skin, and my skin is like an integral part of my whole artistic practices.
She calls herself the Woman of Colors and says her spotted journey started a decade ago.
And I looked down and I saw this like depigmented, like kind of, it looked like a lima bean almost. And I just brushed it off, didn't really think about it. A couple months later go by, I start getting depigmentation on my hands.
Jasmine was diagnosed with vitiligo. It's a skin condition that causes the loss of color in a person's skin. It affects an estimated 1% of the world's population, according to American Osteopathic College of Dermatology.
1 millimeter every 6 months is normally like what my skin was depigmenting in.
For her, it's hereditary, but that's not always the case. In her research, she says she's heard of people developing vitiligo after trauma, a bad bug bite, or a rash. Sometimes it can be a marker of an autoimmune disease like arthritis, type 1 diabetes, or lupus. But it's not contagious. The main harm for some is concern about appearance or ethnic identity.
Skin color is something that really identifies a person in this world.
She came up with the title Woman of Colors because she wanted to be more inclusive of her own identity.
Vitiligo essentially is what I hope, it will be a way for us as humans to redefine skin color.
And now she is using art through a nonprofit she started called Tough Skin to promote beauty, self-love, and empowerment.
My name is Sabrina Harris, and I was diagnosed with vitiligo when I was 8.
Jasmine photographed Sabrina Harris, a sister in the vitiligo community.
She is so body positive, and she just makes you feel awesome about yourself.
Sabrina says it's been so helpful to find a community of people with shared experiences.
I felt really fearful that it would be all-consuming and that it would be something that could potentially be harmful and that I would never be able to stop it. But as I grew into it, I definitely like it now.
Both Jasmine and Sabrina say they still come across people who say hurtful things, but they look at it as an opportunity to teach and bring more awareness to vitiligo.
I've heard jokes like people would call me Michael Jackson, and like I've been called a cow before. One of my gymnasts, she called me a cow, and I was like, all right, that's it, go run laps. You know, like it's just like one of those things where like, you know, like I just can't allow somebody to just like have that kind of power over my emotions over something I can't control.
Instead of focusing on finding a cure for the skin condition, Jasmine says it's time for vitiligans to own their spots and feel proud of what makes them unique.
We're chosen to be spotted warriors, and it's time for change. And we're going to help initiate that flame, and yeah, you better help like hold that torch with us.
With photojournalist Drew Snadeke, I'm Elizabeth Ruiz reporting.
Pool chemicals are in high demand this summer. With shortages across the country, people are trying to make homemade chemicals. Doctors say that can be extremely dangerous if not done correctly. So what can a pool owner do to stay safe? For starters, make sure the chemicals are properly stored. They should be kept in a cool, dry space away from anything flammable. Next, open containers outside where it's ventilated. You don't want to risk inhaling toxic fumes. Finally, always remember to pour the powder right into the pool water. If the opposite is done, it can cause a dangerous reaction. And don't forget to check your pool chemical levels either. Dirty water can cause skin rashes and other infections.
Well, we're going to be talking about temperatures getting up into the upper 80s and lower 90s today, probably pretty close to 93, maybe a small chance of rain for a pop-up shower or two. Most areas miss out, though. Lower 70s later on tonight. It will be another nice morning when you wake up in the morning. And as you look at that 10-day forecast, we'll start a warming trend that takes us into the weekend, 95 to 96 by Friday and Saturday. We're approaching 97 to 98 later on next week with partly cloudy skies, and looks like a drier week may be ahead.
National tryouts are underway as breakdancing is set to make a first ever debut in 2024 as an official Olympic sport. Crews traveled here to Colorado from places like Florida, Georgia, and New Mexico to compete for the chance of a lifetime. Richard Yang, known as Rich Flav on the dance floor, is here from Fresno, California.
Pretty groundbreaking. If you asked me when I first started, if I think it would make it to the Olympics, I probably would say no.
Breakdancing is a part of hip-hop culture that originated in New York City in the late 60s, a form of dance that includes back and head spins, incorporating gymnastics, even martial arts. But several decades later, Yang says it still doesn't get the global respect it deserves.
Before, a lot of people always made fun of us and joked around with us, saying that no one does it anymore, oh, it's just for fun.
As it becomes official in the next Summer Games, Yang hopes the breakdancing culture will finally be taken more seriously across the world.
And they just get better and better.
Owner of the Spot 2.0, Ricky Cordoba, opened this breakdance studio back in the 90s to keep kids off the streets and on the right track to success.
90% of them come out of our dance studio, the No More Violence Cultural Dance Group. They graduate and go to college.
We talked about this next generation.
Yes.
What do you think this 2024 Olympics means for them?
Goals, so they can get to the Olympics. They have something to strive for.
After winning first place at a Las Vegas competition the week before, Bowsy is confident he'll reach his goal of landing a spot on Team USA.
Now getting into a crew that's known worldwide, I think my chances are very high. Train every day, I train very hard.
Yang is excited for the next level of exposure and awareness this will bring to breakdancing.
A culture that's not really explored as much as I would like it to be. But yeah, with it being in the Olympics, hopefully we explode.
I'm Michelle London reporting.
We need to build their self-esteem back up, and I mean, it's so vital for them, for school, for socially, psychologically. I mean, they need it, man. And it starts with the way you look.
This barber is stepping up to provide free haircuts for kids in foster care. Robert says haircuts can sometimes be a financial barrier for many foster parents.
The stipend that parents typically get for their children won't cover grooming, and they have to come out of pocket, so that's a barrier in itself.
He says a haircut can go a long way for their self-esteem.
Here they can come, play basketball, learn life skills, and learn about the love of Jesus Christ.
At this church, you'll see layups and three-pointers as children learn to play basketball. The ministry mixes basketball with the gospel. The purpose is to teach children not only the sport, but to build their character and keep them out of trouble.
It keeps them away from the gang influence, the neighborhood, being attracted to some of the things that happens in the neighborhood that they shouldn't be involved in.
I've struggled with confidence for a long time until I found this place.
A group in Kansas City is working to give LGBTQ youth a space to feel safe. The Passages program includes a weekly meeting for LGBTQ youth to come play games, talk about their joys and challenges, and feel accepted and validated by their peers.
You can be yourself here, and you can be whoever you want to be.